Rockridge Resources, we have two world-class assets here in Canada. One is in Ontario. It's a gold asset called the Rainy Project in the Timmins-Swayze mining belt. And then the second, the flagship asset, is the Knife Lake asset. It's a copper deposit in northern Saskatchewan. It's at surface, high grade, and a super exciting project for the company. So two core projects, and always looking to find some new and exciting things to do. So I bring a bit of a different background to a mining company. I have a 20-year career as an institutional portfolio manager. I've been managing long-short equity here in Canada for a number of years. And one of the reasons why I have this expertise and I'm able to bring that forward to a company like Rockridge is when you're investing in equities in Canada, you have to look at the mining sector. It's such an important part of our economy and such an important part of our markets, our capital markets. I've developed and evolved a certain layer of skill and knowledge, and it's very applicable to building and growing a company like Rockridge. So we've been very active at the flagship Knife Lake project. By the way, it's about 100 miles north of the McIlvenna Bay project, which is Foran Mining's very large and will be first carbon neutral mine globally. And that company has an almost $1 billion valuation. We're 100 miles north. We have very similar stratigraphy, very similar geological characteristics as that mine. We're just a little bit behind where they are in terms of their development. The really interesting thing that I want to mention about the McIlvenna Bay project is that a lot of institutional capital, well-known capital, has come in to finance the area, namely Fairfax Financial and the Ontario Teachers Pension Fund have written very large checks for that project. The reason why that's important to Knife Lake, and I'm getting back to the news flow, is it's shining a very big light on the province of Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan is known for its uranium mining and for potash, less known for its precious and base metal mining production. And so these assets, like the Foran McIlvenna Bay mine, it's really starting to shed a light. So we're in a very good region. It's an underexplored province for these types of assets. We're super excited. So we've gone in recent years and had advanced a very detailed drilling program, the last being the news flow that came out in December. There's a maiden deposit, it's the Knife Lake deposit, 250 million pounds of copper at surface, very good grades. We've just been infilling at the resource, the maiden resource, identifying the real characteristics of that resource. But the most important part of our resource and our exploration programs has been the targets outside of the maiden deposit, which have never been tested. We've identified 11 key targets, and we've just started to test one, which is the Gilbert West and the Gilbert deposit, not deposit, but the Gilbert target area. And we're starting to see some very exciting exploration results from that area to expand upon. So that was the news that came out. We put the drill results out, very high grade mineralization and continuity at the deposit, and very exciting drill results to follow up on the target areas. Right, so Knife Lake, we're considering coming back in 2023. The copper markets have been quite robust. Copper pricing is now approaching the four and a quarter, which is a near-term high, given the supply and the demand story, which we can talk about. So Knife Lake is a project that we are considering coming back to. However, with gold prices rising, we're really starting to dust off our files on our Rainy project here in Ontario and are now considering doing some follow-up work on that asset. We haven't worked on that property since 2020, where we had some very, very high-grade intercepts, greater than 20 gram per ton over a 6-meter interval. So super excited to get back into Ontario, and we're just considering planning those exploration initiatives for some follow-up in 2023. So let's start with the Knife Lake project. So we are very keen to get back and doing some work. And the reason that we're super excited about Knife Lake is, as I mentioned earlier, outside of the maiden deposit, there has never been any real exploratory work done. And we have identified 11 key targets. We've only started to work really on one of them. And so the more work that we can continue to do, the more we can start to build out our thesis that Knife Lake is a remobilized VMS deposit And what that means is these deposits typically don't come up as one-offs. They're typically clusters, and we think that we're just on to the next one. So we've got to get back up to Knife Lake and have to continue to expand on the resource and the exploratory targets. In addition to that, we're super excited to get back into Ontario to our very exciting gold play. Our gold asset is 35 kilometers from Newmont's Borden mine, so we're in the right area, the right real estate, and it just demands some more work. So catalysts going forward are going to be driven by exploration and exploration results. In addition to that, as the markets continue to appreciate, there will be opportunities, hopefully, for Rockridge to go and expand its portfolio of assets. So part of my background is being able to identify really core and unique assets in very good mining jurisdictions that have been underexplored, where we can go and pick up for attractive prices and add value through exploration. We haven't really touched on the macro environment, and that's one of the key reasons that I've joined a company like Rockridge. Copper markets are getting incredibly tight. I believe that we're going to start to be in an imbalance between supply and demand as early as next year. Some analysts believe that gap is going to widen over the next 10 to 15 years, which is really going to drive the price for the underlying, which should be supportive of good equities that have good assets like Rockridge. Again, we have a greater than 200 million pound asset of high-grade copper at surface at Knife Lake here in Canada, in Saskatchewan. We think that those assets are scarce, and our stock is incredibly underpriced. There are very few assets like ours trading at the valuation that we're trading at, so that excites me. The macro is only going to help to shine a light and expose the valuation of the business and drive the stock price forward.